starting the live video. Hi everybody, this is Dawn Black. I don't know if you're out there, but I said at 6 p.m. I was going to be starting this video, a Facebook Live here. And I've got my special guest. He's not here with me yet, but I'm going to have him come here in a little bit. But we have a little bit of time. So if you're out there, pop on. I'd love to see you. Tag a like or give a comment. Let us know that you're out there and that you're listening to this. And also let us know if you like what you hear and if you are can give us any comments below. Like I said, I like the thumbs up. I like the hearts. Pop up. We're going to be starting in a little bit. Tabitha, hi. Thanks for coming on. Give it about. I'm not starting this till 6 o'clock. So if you're on, we're hanging out together. Just give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you like this. Thanks for the thumbs up. I've got my special guest here, but I'm not going to bring him out until after I do my intro. And I have a couple more people that pop up. Oh, I see Denise's face is up there. Hi, Denise. I see your thumbs up. Thanks again. I'm glad you're watching. You'll know the guy that I'm bringing in because I'm sure you probably used him yourself. I see another thumbs up. So I don't know. What time is it? Hey, special guest, what time is it? We got 4 more minutes. So we're going to be starting in 4 more minutes. I'd like to see a couple more people come on. I see 3 more people coming on. I'm happy that you guys, I think you're going to find this really informative. It's going to be a lot of great information we're going to be going through. I don't know if you remember, but I had put out a post on Facebook probably about a week ago letting you know that I was going to be doing this Facebook Live with the home inspector, and I had asked if you had any questions that you would want answered. I said this is going to be a question and answer session, and I wanted to know if you had any questions. And I want to be honest with you, I had gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of people about what different questions that they had about the process, what about the home inspection. We're going to go through every one of these. Hey, Brian, I see you out there. Thanks for joining. I'm going to answer all these questions. You get James on here to take a look so that he can know what's going on with the home inspection if he goes to buy a house. We're going to be starting soon. What's our time? Oh, we got 2 more minutes. And then I'm going to start up. Or you know what? I can start now. It's a little bit early, but that's okay. So I want to once again say hi, everybody, for coming on to this Facebook Live. My name is Dawn Black. I'm with Century 21 First Class Homes. And I've been doing a couple of these, and I'm hoping that you guys find this information helpful. My next thing is I have a home inspector that I'm going to be introducing to you in a little bit. But before I introduce my guest, I always like to get a little bit of this laundry items cleared up out of the way. Like, for instance, if you have any questions, because I have a list of questions that I received. But let's say you have something that you want to ask, please put it in the comments below what questions you have, so that if we don't answer it here, we will be sure to answer it privately or in the comments below. So just be sure that you do that. Again, I like to hear likes, thumbs up, give me a heart, let me know that you're out there. That's always really nice and really good to see, because then I know that everybody is listening to this. And then 2, I will be posting this on my Facebook business page, which is Dawn Black Realtor. If you haven't been there, be there, like it, follow it, because then you will know when I'm coming up live with another Facebook Live. Also, it will be on LinkedIn, so I will be posting this on my LinkedIn and YouTube. I do have a Dawn Black Realtor YouTube channel that I will be posting this on also. So just to kind of go over a little bit, I do have a home inspector that I use all the time. I always recommend him because he's very thorough, and I love the way that he does his home inspections, because and I'll let him explain it all when he comes out here, but I just like the way that he handles his home inspection and how thorough he is when he does it. So what I'm going to be doing is, there is a point in the once a contract, just to kind of let you know, there is a point in the contract which I use the multi-board residential real estate 6.1 contract when we write a contract or an offer when a buyer is wanting to purchase a home. Or even when on the selling end of it, I always like to see that contract used when a buyer's agent is writing a contract on one of my listings. The paragraph 12 of the contract, and this is a thing I think what might be interesting on my next talk, and you guys let me know if you guys are okay with this. I might have an attorney, real estate attorney, come out and kind of explain the contract to you, and maybe a little bit of a question and answer period with that. So that might be my next thing. Let me know what you think. But that paragraph 12 in the contract basically is the home inspection period. So just the short of it is that inspection period is a 5 business days after acceptance. So when a buyer and a seller come together on a contract and it has been signed and all changes on the contract have been initialed and we have a date of acceptance in that contract, that starts the clock ticking to where you need to find an inspector, you need to do the inspection, schedule the inspection, and then by that 5th business day, you will have to review the inspection, get in touch with your attorney. If you're the buyer, you'll get in touch with your attorney. Let him know what items you want to address that came up on that inspection. And that would be, your attorney will then write up a letter, a home inspection letter of the items that you want to address, and he will get it over to the sellers so that you and the seller can start to negotiate. So that would be your attorney would be writing a letter to that seller's attorney, and then both of the attorneys would then work out how you will come to an agreement. I always say you can either have the seller take care of the repair, but use a licensed person for that field and take care of that repair. Ask for a credit, come to a compromise with a credit, or, and it doesn't mean that seller has to fix everything on there. It's all part of the negotiations between the attorneys. But 5 business days, that's it. So if you sign a contract, calendar in there that you have to have everything done. You have to have that inspection done, the inspection reviewed, and talk to your attorney by that 5th business day, because by 6 o'clock on that 5th business day, he's got to get a letter over to the seller's attorney. So right now, what I would like to do is I would like to introduce my guest. He is Ed Miehlke with HomeTeam Inspections. He is the owner of HomeTeam Inspections. And Ed, why don't you come on and have a seat?
Down.
Yeah, come on down, have a seat.
Hi, everyone.
So as you can see, I just want to let Ed know, see, as you can tell, there are little lights. Okay. You can see the people up there. And then too, if anybody has a comment, we'll be seeing. So we've got a lot of people watching us right now. Ed, I want to thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I'd like you to kind of go over a couple things. I would like you to let everyone know a little bit about your background, name of your company, the years that you've been in business, how can people contact you, and I know you have a little app that you can tell us about, and a little bit about your inspection team and how you handle your inspections, and most importantly, what is the cost of your inspections?
Very good. Again, Ed Miehlke with HomeTeam Inspections. I've been in business for 17 years, and I've worked with Dawn for most of those 17 years, so we've worked together for a long time. HomeTeam has been around for a long time. It's a franchise organization, and we think we do things a little bit differently. We think we do things with the client in mind, with the real estate agent in mind. For example, one of the things that we do is we bring a heating and air conditioning technician on all of our inspections. We think that adds a lot of value to the inspection. The heating and air is such a critical system that is being looked at. We think there's a lot of value as far as bringing that. So we have a network of about 30 to 40 different inspection companies that we'll bring with us depending on where it's at. We'll try to bring somebody local to have them take a look at the equipment as far as testing the furnace, testing the air conditioning, looking at the hot water heater, and then going through that with a client. We get a lot of feedback. We ask for feedback on every one of our inspections that we do. We get a lot of feedback saying that there was a lot of value added to that by having that person with. so many inspection companies, they'll say, you know, for heating and air, you need to have an HVAC person take a look at that. We've already brought them with, that they were part of our inspection team. So we think that's very important.
I was going to say, and it's such a time saver.
Absolutely.
Because it's great, because then Ed can go do his thing, and then you got the HVAC guy going down there and doing his thing, which that saves so much time.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Absolutely. And what's nice with it also, and I think one of the questions that we're going to get later on is where we talk about pricing and stuff like that. The nice thing about bringing that heating technician also is they can talk through as far as what it's going to cost to service it, what it's going to cost if it needs to be replaced. They can actually give figures for that because they are the ones that are actually going to be doing the work, and they're going to be honoring those figures.
Great.
So most times as inspectors, we are not allowed to give out pricing as far as repairs and that type of thing. With that HVAC technician, we're able to do that for that part of it. So that's important. Just a little bit more about our company. We currently have 6 inspectors. So Dawn mentioned as far as that tight window, as far as, you know, getting the inspection done. We want to make sure that we're there when you need us. So if you have that 5-day window, whatever your time frame is on it, we're going to make sure that we have somebody available to meet your time frame on that. We're going to get you the report in a very timely manner. We get a lot of compliments as far as the report itself. It's a narrative type of report as opposed to a checklist type of report. It gives more information in an easy to understand method. One of the things that we hear all the time as far as inspection companies is, I couldn't understand anything in the inspection report. We take a lot of pride in making sure that what we put in the report is easy to understand with a recommendation on any observation that we had.
Well, you also, too, add pictures
Absolutely.
in there. So if there's anything that is red flagged or noted,
Yep.
you take a picture of it and you explain, which that's what I like about your reports.
Absolutely. As far as pricing for our inspections, we find that even though we're bringing that heating and air conditioning technician with us, we're very competitively priced. Currently, our pricing for a home under 2,000 square feet, we would be in the price range of about $375. We also do radon testing. We also have a couple of pest inspectors that we can bring with us if it's a requirement. Sometimes with relocations and that type of thing, they want to make sure that a pest inspection is done. We do have those resources available. What we try to do is let us know what you need, and we're going to bring it there at the time of the inspection, so you don't have to go looking for other people to do it.
Right.
We'll make sure it's all coordinated with us. So $375 is our basic fee, and then as the house gets bigger, it goes up from there. But that covers, you know, one heating and air conditioning system. As far as radon testing, if it's one foundation, like a whole basement, price is $200. If we have to add a second radon test for like a crawl space or a slab area, it's just an additional $50. But basic price for inspection is $375. Basic price for radon testing is $200.
Okay, all right. Well, why don't we start? I've got a list. We got a list. Everybody, I want to thank you for contributing to the question and answer session that we're doing right now, because you guys were the ones that were asking us the questions. And I have a list here, and we're going to go through each one of them. So our first question we have is, what areas and items do you inspect in a home, Ed?
We have figured out that there's probably between 400 and 500 items that we go through for an inspection. So it's a very thorough inspection. Also, it's a visual inspection. The reason that's important is because we can't take apart walls, we can't take apart equipment and that type of thing. We're doing a visual inspection at the time of the inspection, kind of a snapshot, if you will. But there's about 400 to 500 items that we test, so very thorough. Key areas that we're looking at on the outside, for example, we're going to look at the roof, we're going to look at the gutters and drainage system. We're going to look at the grading around the house. We're going to look at the exterior of the house, the walkways, the entryways, that type of thing, patios, decks. So all that exterior information, garages are looked at. On the inside, usually we start up in the attic and work our way down. So up in the attic, we're looking at making sure there's no moisture. We always say that, you know, when we have this conversation with many buyers, we aren't doing mold testing when we do the inspection, but we're doing such a thorough inspection. If we see something, we can definitely recommend that you have further testing done for that. So, you know, usually that satisfies most clients. So as we're going through the attic, we're looking for moisture. We're looking to see if there might be some mold. We're looking at the insulation, the ventilation. So, you know, a lot of things up in the attic to make sure that everything's in good shape up there. As we work through the house, all plumbing fixtures are tested. Most windows are tested. Most outlets are tested. You know, again, heating and air conditioning systems are tested. All kitchen appliances, washer and dryer, that's all tested. Garage opener is tested. Safety reverse on that is tested. And then as we get down into the lower levels, we're really looking at the structure. We're looking at the foundation. We're looking at the floor support system. Those are some of your critical systems as far as supporting the house. I always say the two biggest systems in the house are obviously foundation and the roof structure. Everything besides that, plumbing, electric, that windows, that type of thing, those can all be updated and repaired. But when you're looking at the foundation, when you're looking at the roof, those are some big items that would be looked at.
So if you were to, I know you said a lot there.
Absolutely.
And it may have been the second question, and to let me know if it is, what are your inspection procedures? Meaning,
Yep.
Is that pretty much everything?
Yeah, and it's that systematic approach, going through a house the same way. And a lot of times you'll hear us talk to a client, because a lot of times the client wants to be right there when we're going through it. And a lot of times we'll say, let us go through it first, because we don't want to be distracted when we're going through that house. So we're going to go through it first, get all of our notes together, and then we're going to walk that client through and really introduce them to the condition of the house.
Okay.
We view our part of the inspection is to really introduce that client to what the condition of the house is, and to educate them on issues that either need to be addressed now or will be coming up. And we do the same thing with HVAC. As the HVAC technician is done with his part, we have them walk that client through it as well. So it's really an education process as far as our procedures to introduce them to the condition of that house.
So if it's a first-time home buyer, never bought a home before.
Absolutely.
You point out, would you point out where the water shut-off is?
Absolutely.
And kind of give them a little bit of a in-service, where things are
Yep.
located, what you need to look for, and things like
and
that.
We do some of those things like the water shut-off. We do that on every inspection. We want to make sure that they know how to shut off water. We want to make sure they know how to shut off power. But with first-time buyers, we take it a little bit further. Just introducing the little maintenance things that they can do. Changing filters on microwave ovens, that type of thing. We always make sure that the heating and air conditioning technicians go through as far as how to use the thermostat, how to change the filter on the furnace, that type of thing. So, especially with first-time home buyers, we really try to go through a little bit extra with them to kind of make sure that they're comfortable with some of the maintenance items.
Now, how in depth, because I know, you're talking about a lot of things. You said you hit a lot of points, probably about 400 items on your home inspection.
Yep.
But how in depth do you look at possible issues that you find in a home? You just mentioned like mold
Yep.
and things like that. How in depth will you go into that?
The way I always describe it is, I always say, because there's so many things that we're looking at, we have to know a little about a lot of things. So when we're looking at 400 to 500 items, we have to be versed on electric and plumbing and the roof and the structure and all of that. So we need to know we need to know what we're looking for. But then we also need to know when at some point we have to turn that client over to somebody that knows a lot about a little, okay? And that's where your specialist comes in. If we see something, for example, with foundation, where there's movement in the foundation, we need to be able to say, okay, this gets beyond what I can tell you, and we need to bring in a foundation specialist to say, how severe is it? Is it done moving? Is it going to continue to move? Because as a buyer, you want to know what that issue is and how severe it is. So that's where we do a kind of a cursory look at everything and look at a lot of items very thoroughly, but we recognize the key items, we have to turn them over to a specialist.
Okay, all right. Now this is a question that I didn't know what it was all about, but I'm going to ask anyway. What is a 4-point home inspection?
4-point home inspection.
And do you do it?
They're not really done around here. Again, HomeTeam is a franchise, so I've heard about 4-point inspections done in Florida. Florida is big on doing 4-point inspections, and it's tied into the insurance industry. So the insurance industry requires, in some cases, that this 4-point inspection be done, and it covers, I believe, the HVAC, the roof, the electric, and the plumbing, and that's it. Because the insurance company wants to know kind of basic conditions going into insuring a house.
So it's kind of it's not as detailed as
Yeah.
you would go into
Correct.
a home inspection.
It's kind of a partial inspection to give the insurance industry some peace of mind, knowing that I'm insuring a property that, at least for some key items, is in good shape.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. When looking for an inspector, should you ask the inspector for their license?
I don't think you need to ask them for a license, but you need to make sure that they are licensed. And it's really becoming less of an issue here in Illinois. When I first started 17 years ago, there wasn't a licensing process. All you had to be was certified. So you had a lot of people doing inspections that really shouldn't have been doing inspections. They were doing it on the side work, that type of thing. In 2002, Illinois went to a licensing process. So ever since then, you have to be licensed in the state to do a home inspection. At the beginning, you had some abuse of that, but we're to the point now where really every inspector that's out there is licensed. Okay, so it's becoming less of an issue because it's an industry that, just like you guys with the real estate, is a licensed and monitored by the state.
Right. And you have continuing ed
Absolutely.
and things like that. And
Absolutely.
then do you put your license number on your business
License
card?
number is on every business card. Also, license number is on every inspection report.
So, and you don't have to per se ask for the license, but you can get a card, and there should be a license number
Correct.
on the card.
Business card should have it, and also if you get an inspection report, that inspection report should have that at the bottom because that is a requirement by the state.
Okay. How long are your inspections?
Well, and you hit on it earlier. That's the thing that we take pride in because I can't tell you how many times we hear from people, oh my gosh, the inspection lasted 5 hours and it wasn't that big of a house. There's a lot of inspectors out there that will just take a long time. And what we try to do is be thorough but yet be efficient. And we think that bringing that HVAC technician really allows us to be more efficient and to add more value. Nobody likes to spend a whole day waiting for an inspector to go through a house, but we try to be thorough but still be efficient. So what we always shoot for is no more than 2 hours on an inspection.
2 hours.
And with your, if you have a condo, it's going to be a lot less than that.
Yeah.
We always pride ourselves. We recently did a 13,000 square foot inspection up in North Barrington. And we had 6 of us there, and we still were done in 2 hours, okay? So what's nice with us having a team approach to our inspections is as the inspection gets bigger and it's larger, we'll bring in more people. For that one, for example, we had 2 HVAC technicians there because it had like 6 systems, we had 4 inspectors on site. So again, our goal is always, no matter the size of it, trying to keep it about 2 hours for the inspection.
Divide and conquer.
Absolutely.
Get
Absolutely.
it done.
And it's nice because it's more eyes on it.
Everybody's got it.
If somebody misses something, somebody else catches something.
That's great. What is the average cost? I think you might have mentioned it. You might want to say it again. What is the average cost of an inspection?
Basic inspection, like I said, is $375. Most of as you get up over 2,000 square feet, it's going to go up. $50 for about every 1,000 square feet. But basic price is $375 for an inspection. Basic price for radon testing is $200.
Okay. You do home inspection? That's the inspection on the home. You do the radon test.
Correct.
Are there any other inspections that you do that you can give the cost? Like, do you do mold inspections?
We don't do mold inspections per se, but we have companies that will work with us on that. So we usually will put you in touch, and we try to do it have them do it at the same time. We usually try to have them bill that separately as far as the mold portion of it. We also do pest inspections. We have 3 companies that we work with as far as doing pest inspections. That cost is $175 to do that. We don't do a lot of them around here. Up in Illinois, our winters are pretty tough on some of the insects, so it's not like further south in the country where a pest inspection is done on every inspection. We don't get a lot of requests for them, but we are ready to handle them if needed.
Okay, great. So how in depth do you go into inspections, and when red flags come up, how do you handle them?
Okay.
So
as I mentioned, it's going to be a very thorough inspection, and I think a lot of some of the people on this tonight have worked with us, so they know that we do a very thorough inspection, covering between 400 and 500 items. Where it becomes real critical for us, though, is knowing when that handoff takes place. You talked about the red flags come up and how do we handle them. We try not to be alarmists, because there's not much that can't be fixed on a house. Again, unless you have some major foundation issues, unless you have some major issues with roof, that is going to be some significant costs as far as restructuring. Everything in between can really be taken care of. It's really, it's just a matter of, what you want to put into it. We always try to make sure that the buyer, when they leave it, has a good understanding of what's coming for them, so that, because some people are more handy than others, we want to make sure that they have as few surprises as possible. As homeowners, we all know that things are going to come up that are unexpected, but we try to identify as many as possible during the inspection so that they have as few surprises as possible. But with the red flags, the key for me is that once we identify something, we always will give a recommendation as far as what needs to be done and who should be brought in to look at that.
Now, with that, can you as the inspector give estimates on any repairs that come up?
And I kind of alluded to that earlier. We really shouldn't. We are not supposed to give out pricing. And the example that I always give is a plumbing example. If we come across a slow drain for plumbing, a lot of times it's just easy as clearing that drain out. Some people will use liquid types of measures. Others will use more things that are a little bit easier on the pipes. But a lot of times it's a very inexpensive cost to clear that drain. But at the same time, that slow drain can also be an indication that there's blockage further between the house and the main sewer line. That ends up getting to be a much larger cost. So that's where we have to say, okay, there's blockage, there's a slow drain. We recommend further evaluation by a plumber, because that plumber then can take a scope to go down and see, is it just local in the drain itself, or is there blockage between the house and the sewer, in which case they might have to dig up that front yard, and then it gets to be a big cost. So that's really where we, for that recommendation, we're going to say, here's what we identified, here's what we observed, here's our recommendation as far as who to bring in and what should be done.
So then you're saying that they should go out, or when it comes to something like that, that should be somebody in the field of what that issue is in should come out.
Correct.
And take a look at that.
That's where you want that specialist, because and that's why we can't give costs, because if I gave a cost of, it should be $100, $200 to clear that drain, that type of thing, and then all of a sudden they move in and now they're digging up the front yard and it's going to cost $5,000 to $10,000, they're going to be looking at me and say, hey, you told me a couple $100.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we as inspectors should not be giving it out, because we need to take it to a point and then turn it over to somebody that's going to actually do the work, that can look at it further and make that determination. Here's what it actually is going to cost you to fix it.
And then that's where that you would then go to the attorneys, because that is, if that's going to be something that you want addressed, then you need to speak with your attorney and make sure that a letter gets over, by that 5th business day, so that you both sides can discuss it and negotiate it and come to some sort of an agreement on that. And that could be on how it's going to be handled, who's going to take a look at it, and that's another whole Facebook Live with an attorney to get through those items. So after the repairs, and this I've had this happen once, where after the repairs are made, so you get to a point, the issues are brought up, and now we've come to an agreement. The seller now says they'll take care of everything. So they either have somebody come out and take care of the repairs, or in some cases, sometimes the owners take care of the repairs. Are made, is it right to have, do you think it would be a good thing to have it re-inspected by a home inspector?
We always have it available. Our price for our re-inspection is $150. We try to keep it smaller, recognizing we're just going to be looking at a handful of items. But most times you don't need that re-inspection, because, again, you're going to have a document from us that clearly says, here's the things that need to be taken care of. You've worked with your attorney as far as what they've taken care of. And a lot of times on your final walkthrough, you can check to make sure that the things are done. Either they're providing you documentation from a licensed contractor that did it, or you're able to test something. Sometimes something's not working, a sump pump, a dishwasher, a washing machine, and you're able, okay, we've now fixed it. When you do your final walkthrough, you can test those items to make sure that they're working properly. Right. So most times you don't need to rehire us to come back in. Some people like that comfort of having the inspector come back in and take a look. We're available, whatever is needed, but most of it can be done during the final walkthrough.
Okay, all right, great. So here's a question. What items on an inspection would be difficult to find, or what items are out of the scope of a home inspection? And I know when you first meet your buyers at your inspection, you have your agreement that you fill out. Either they do it online or they do it at the time of the inspection. And there's a part in that where it says what's not in the scope of the home inspection. And maybe you can go over a little bit about what is not.
Sure. Keeping in mind that it's a visual inspection, so there's some things that we can't see. Like I said, we can't go behind walls. Sometimes we get asked as far as, how much insulation is behind walls and that type of thing. There's some limitations that we have. There's some new technology that we're looking at that might be able to give us a little bit more information, but again, we're limited as far as, we can't take things apart, so it's a visual inspection. The other thing that we get a lot in this regard as far as what's in our scope, a lot of times people will ask us, is that up to code? Okay, and we always tell people we are not code inspectors. Okay, that's done by a village, because every village follows a different set of building codes. Okay, some are more current than others. Other villages adopt codes on their own, that are specific to their village. So we have no way of tracking as far as which codes the villages are following. So we cannot be code inspectors. That would be up to the village. So what we're doing is kind of giving a general assessment. Good example of that is Romex. Romex is a type of electric material that protects the electric wires that are run through the house. There are some areas out west, Kane County, McHenry County, that allow Romex to be run throughout the house. There's other areas in Cook County, Lake County, DuPage County that don't allow it. So we try to be aware of some of that to give some direction to the buyers, but a lot of that we end up saying you have to go back to the village to see what is their requirements
standards.
And what are their standards. Okay, so that's a big one that comes up as far as things that are outside of our scope. Other things that are outside of our scope, water softeners. Sometimes those are rented, sometimes those are owned. So we always tell people find out first if they are rented or owned, but those would be outside of our scope. Sprinkler systems on the outside, those types of things where we don't come across them a lot. We have to be a little bit cautious as far as our knowledge base of certain systems like that. Okay.
How about like spas? Like they have
Hot
the
tub.
Whirlpool hot tubs.
Yeah, we're checking
like that.
basics on it. Make sure that there's nothing. Sometimes we'll come across them and there'll be some really crazy electrical things that are done on them. So we'll if we have an observation like that, we will do it. But again, spas and hot tubs and that type of thing, those would be outside of our scope. Saunas, sometimes we come across saunas. Well, there's again a lot of expertise that's needed as far as how they're set up and what they're what needs to be done with those. Swimming pools, is another good example. That would be outside of our scope because we don't have the ability to kind of look at the liners inside the swimming pools to determine what condition that is. So again, we will always do a cursory look around it to see if there's something that jumps out. But we have to list that as outside of our scope because a lot of times we're recommending that something further be tested or inspected on that by a specialist.
Okay, all right. Couple things, because I know I hit a whole bunch of questions, but, this is interesting. For now, you do the inspections for the buyers when they get a contract for the buyer's inspection so they know everything about the house. When a seller is selling a home, could you, and maybe you can explain what it is too. When a seller is selling a home, do you do pre-listing inspections for sellers? What is the benefit of
Absolutely.
a pre-listing inspection for a seller? That is when a seller is selling their home to do an inspection. I'm going to let you explain what it's all about.
And we're doing more and more of them. When I first got into this business, very few times would we do a pre-listing inspection, but we're actually doing more and more of them. And what the biggest benefit is to the seller is it really gives them back some of that leverage. If you think about it, when a seller puts their home on the market, they have the inspection done, the buyer has the inspection done, and the inspector is saying all these things need to be addressed. And a lot of times the buyer will ask for a huge amount of money or a huge credit toward it because the seller is unprepared as far as what's going to come up. By doing a pre-listing inspection, what I always say, it gives you the seller some of that leverage back so they're prepared what's going to come up during an inspection. Not that they necessarily have to fix it, but at least they know what's an appropriate amount to give a credit for. For example, mold is always a big one. Sometimes people will freak out a little bit when they see mold and they'll ask for a huge amount. But if a seller's prepared for it, he can have somebody come out and take a look and say, this is what it would cost to do it. So he can be prepared. Here's my estimate.
Right.
I'm prepared to give you, let's say, $2,000 or $1,000 toward it because it can be done for that. Instead of a buyer maybe asking for $5,000 to $10,000, the seller's more prepared for it, and that's true throughout. The other thing with the pre-listing inspections that I always tell sellers is, if you think about it, you want that report to be as small as possible. So even for a lot of small items, knock those out before
Take care
a
of
buyer
those items.
brings their inspector in, because now my list is cut in half or in third. It doesn't look nearly as daunting to the buyer. So there's a lot of value for the seller to do those, and again, we are doing more and more of them.
Oh, great. Okay, so there was actually some questions that did come up. In addition, if it's an older home, how do you remove asbestos flooring?
Okay.
Basically she's saying like fix asbestos in a heating duct, things like that. So how would you, if asbestos, so maybe explain a little bit what asbestos is,
Okay.
and then what your thoughts on how would you take care of something like that. And are you allowed to give advice like that? I mean, is that something that's...
We always recommend that they talk to somebody, again, that's a specialist in it.
Right,
Okay. So it's back to my statement that we need to know a little bit about a lot of things. So I
Okay.
can give you a little bit of information, but I would always say, if you want more information, if you want more detail, go talk to a specialist that deals with asbestos all the time. They can give you more information than us. But we come across it a lot, especially when we're doing, like you said, older homes. We'll see it a lot of times on floor tiles. Most of your 9 by 9 inch floor tiles in basements, most of them contain asbestos. We know that right off the bat. There's been a few occasions where we've had them tested and they did, or the clients have had them tested and they did not. But most times the 9 by 9 floor tiles contain asbestos. So we're going to bring, anytime we see those in a basement, we're going to mention and recommend that they be tested further. Sometimes the older ceiling tiles would contain it. What was mentioned in the question also is a lot of times your ductwork would be wrapped with like a wrapping to protect it and to insulate it, and some of that older wrapping contained asbestos. So anything that we see that may contain it, we bring up. The discussion we always have with buyers on it is asbestos by itself is not a health hazard. It's when it becomes airborne. If a floor starts breaking apart,
it cracks.
the fibers start getting airborne. I think it's like what they call friable fibers become airborne. That's when you ingest it, and then that's when it becomes a health concern. But if you have a pristine asbestos floor, nothing necessarily has to be done with it. You can leave it as is. You can cover it with a vinyl covering. There's a lot of different coverings that you can put over it, so it doesn't necessarily have to be removed. But if it's starting to break apart, or ceiling tiles that contain it, if they're starting to deteriorate and start breaking apart, or the wrap around ductwork and stuff like that, if that's starting to break apart, that's when it becomes a health concern, and that's where the specialists need to be brought in, because as they deal with it, a lot of times they're cordoning off rooms and putting plastic over rooms so that they contain it in a particular room. They use special HEPA vacuums and that type of thing to keep it contained, because you don't want that going distributed throughout the house. So there's, again, asbestos by itself is not a health concern unless it becomes airborne.
Do you test for asbestos?
We don't,
So
but we have like 3 different labs that we work with. So what in our office, staff can always share those with clients, that type of thing.
Okay.
And what I always recommend is if you have a little sample of it, put it in a Ziploc bag, send it to one of the labs. They can test it, and that way if it doesn't contain it, have at it. Pull it down, pull the ceiling down, pull the floor tiles up, and you don't have to worry. But if it does contain it, that's when you have to take the proper precautions.
I got a question here. Laura Brow is asking, if you do a pre-inspection, what items would a seller have to disclose to the buyers? Do you think that's more of an attorney question that we should be directing maybe that question to an attorney, a real estate attorney?
Yeah, because I think that's where it gets into a lot of your disclosures on even your contracts.
Yes, yeah. That might be a question, Laura, that when I get a real estate attorney out, next month I'm going to be planning another one, so maybe that would be a good question that we save for that interview or that question and answer with an attorney. I think that's more of a legal question versus a home inspection question.
I think the 2 that come up that we hear all the time are radon and mold. Because if a house has radon, that's why a lot of buyers are encouraged to do the radon testing ahead of time, because if it is high, that seller has to disclose that, so there's a motivation for them to go ahead and have it fixed, because otherwise they have to disclose it. Same thing with mold. If we come across something that, you know, we recommend further evaluation, and it turns out that it is mold, you know, usually it's in the seller's best interest to get it corrected, because otherwise they have to disclose it. So those are probably the two that come up the most during home inspections.
Okay, great. So another question came up, what is, and this is maybe something I'm sure you would know, the lifespan of a roof? What is the lifespan of a roof?
We always tell people on average it's about 20 years. You know, there's different qualities of shingles, and we can kind of tell it even by walking. Sometimes they're very thin as far as the shingles. Other times they're very thick and pliable. So you know, you always hear about 20, 30, 40, even 50-year shingles. Doesn't mean that you're going to get that much. You know, you very rarely do you get 30 or 40 years out of a shingle, but it's just how, you know, the length of time. It tells you the quality of the shingles. But on average, you know, we usually look at about 20 years for a roof.
Okay, great. What are the most expensive items to replace that you would check? I mean, your most expensive items in a home?
Obviously, a roof is one of the more expensive ones. When you have to replace that roof, that's where we always talk about the asphalt fiberglass roofs versus the cedar roofs. What's nice with the wood cedar roofs is you can do maintenance on them, and that's why they last longer, because you can replace bad sections. Whereas with an asphalt fiberglass roof, you know, once it gets bad, you're replacing the whole thing. But that's obviously one of the bigger cost items. Obviously, your heating and air is another big one. You know, if you have old equipment, you know, usually you're looking at an average of about $5,000 to $6,000 to replace that equipment. So that's a bigger ticket item. Windows can be another big item. Depending on the house, if it's got a lot of windows, that can add up very quickly, you know, as far as, you know, replacing windows. So those are some that, again, kind of get talked about a lot as far as some of the bigger ticket items.
Okay, all right. I think I can answer this. Who pays for the home inspection? Well, per the contract that we use, it's the buyer's responsibility to hire the inspector and pay for the inspection, and they get the inspection report. Now, if it was for a seller's pre-listing inspection, that would then be paid by the seller.
Correct.
So, yeah, that, and then, oh gosh, this was, who pays for, okay. As far as, I think, we know, yeah, no, you've answered that. I want to make sure that I've answered everybody's questions here. I think we have pretty much touched on everything. I'm going to see if does anybody at this point in time who may be listening have any questions that they may want to, I know that Laura gave a really good question, and I'm sorry we couldn't answer it, but once we get a real estate attorney out there, then we can ask all sorts of legal questions and try to get some answers and on those questions. But I think we've pretty much handled everything that I've come across, and I don't see any other questions coming up or popping up. So what I would like to do is, if you do have any questions, even when we're going to be wrapping this up in a little bit, because I can't think of any other questions. I think we've gone through everything that needed to be answered. I will be getting a brochure from Ed Miehlke from HomeTeam Inspections, and I will be posting that on my business page, which is the Dawn Black Realtor. Ed, how can people, and two, I want you to tell them about your app, but how can people contact you if they want to have a home inspection, or if they even have any questions?
Absolutely. We have office staff that answers phones throughout the day. Our phone number is 847-719-1329. Phones are answered by office staff between 8 o'clock and 4:30 every day. After hours, you get the pleasure of talking to me. It goes to my cell phone. So if I'm in the middle of something, I will get back to you as soon as possible. Usually get back to people absolutely the same day. We recognize that there's a time frame that you have to meet, so we really try to be quick as far as our turnaround time on that. So if you don't reach us, leave us a message. We're happy to call you back very quickly. You can also look us up on HomeTeam.com. Put in a zip code. The zip code here, for example, 60193 is kind of the heart of our area. But you can put in any zip code, and it'll tell you about HomeTeam. It'll tell you about our team. There'll be referrals, testimonials, that type of thing. That will tell you a lot more for us. There's home buyers resources. There's agent resources. So there's a lot of resources online for you. And then Dawn alluded to our app that we have, and it really is designed for real estate professionals, real estate agents that are working with us. What it allows them to do is to go online. They can schedule the inspection online. So if you're working with a client, let's say late at night you finalize a contract, you can go right online and schedule the inspection. So instead of having to wait till the next morning, you can go right online and schedule it. It also allows you to take a look at older reports. If somebody has a question on a report, if you need to look back at a report, it allows you to do that as well.
Awesome.
So it's a real handy tool for staying in touch with us, getting inspections scheduled, and having access to reports. So those are probably the easiest ways as far as reaching us.
And I'm glad that you did mention about the app, because we do have realtors watching us.
Absolutely.
And I think then everybody will start to get that app on their phone.
Absolutely. If you don't have it, call us. We're happy to walk you through with that as far as the app. But we do find more and more people using it, because again, a lot of times you're away from the office when you're doing some of these things, and it really allows you from your phone to get that scheduled as quickly as possible, recognizing that there's that 5-day period.
And also, too, a lot of times we're getting deals together or contracts put together late at night.
Absolutely.
And this is a great way to get in touch with and schedule your home inspections. So
I see name of the app question. It is.
I can't use my phone because I'm using it right now.
My Home Team. It's My Home Team app. Get in touch with us. What we'll do is we'll send you a link to it, and that way you can add it to your phone, and we'll walk you through that. But it's My Home Team app is the app itself.
Did you get that, Denise? It's My Home Team. I know that you said Home Team, but it's My Home Team.
Yes.
So that way you can do it. Is it at the App Store?
I don't think so. I think you have to.
Oh, so you'll have to get the
think we
link.
have to send you the
Okay.
link for it. And like I said, we're happy to walk you through that.
All right, so Denise, get in touch with Ed. He'll send you the app so you can get it on your phone, okay? No, he's going to give you a link, and then you can get it on your phone. But
Absolutely.
just give Ed a call, and they'll send you that link, okay, Denise? So I just want to let you know that this is live. James, you're coming on. Hi, James. How you doing? I just wanted to let you know that we're wrapping this up. I just wanted to let you know that this is recorded, so it will be on my Facebook Dawn Block Realtor page, so that you can go back to it and listen to it in its entirety. I will also be putting it on my Dawn Block YouTube channels on YouTube, so you can also go back there. I will post it on my LinkedIn too, so that anywhere I will be there. So always look at it as that I'm your resource for real estate. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I will make sure that this gets posted out there for everybody to view. I think next month we're going to be doing another Facebook Live, and you guys let me know if this is a good one. I think getting a real estate attorney might be really good to have them have him answer any questions, or at least discuss the 6.1 contract, so that when we're sitting down with our sellers or buyers, that we can go through and explain it thoroughly. So that might be, and even for anybody out there, just to get an understanding of what that is and what you as a buyer or seller legally have to get going when you're purchasing a home. So that might be our next visitor. I will be working on that. Also, give me your feedback. Let me know if you have any questions for a real estate attorney. You can private message me your question for the real estate attorney, or you can also email me direct at homesbyblock@gmail.com. Ed, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Always
so
appreciate
much.
it.
This I think has been a lot of information in a short amount of time or a long amount of time, but if there are any questions that pop up or that you're thinking about, be sure to, again, you can private message me. Ed gave his information. What I will do is I will post your information in the feed here, so that anybody that wants to get in touch with you can do that.
You bet.
Everybody, we're gonna wrap it up. If there's no more questions, I want to thank everybody for being on this Facebook Live and listening to our question and answer with Ed. the owner of HomeTeam Inspections. And everybody, make it a great evening. Thank you for your time. And be on the lookout. I'm around. I'm your resource for real estate. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.